Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the 2012 movie adaptation of Great Expectations. Yeah, guys, I consider the book Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, I consider that to be one of my top favorite classics. I'm not quite sure where exactly I would rank it. It's definitely in my top five. Okay, last month, I talked about my love of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre because I had reviewed the 2011 movie adaptation of Jane Eyre, and I was talking about Jane Eyre's definitely within my top five favorite classics. So I don't know which is higher, Jane Eyre or Great Expectations. Either way, they're both in my top five favorite classic literature. I love Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Yeah, guys, it's just such a great story and such fascinating, whimsical characters. And I have seen quite a number of adaptations for Great Expectations. So let me just kind of run down the list of all the adaptations I have seen, other than this one, because this is what we're going to be talking about. This is 2012 adaptation. But yeah, I have seen the 1999 miniseries with Ioan Gruffudd and Charlotte Rampling. And I have also seen the 2011 adaptation, which is so funny because that 2011 adaptation came out literally less than a year before this movie adaptation. So there were two adaptations of Great Expectations very close together. But yeah, that 2011 adaptation had Douglas Booth and Gillian Anderson, which honestly might be my favorite adaptation out of everything I'm going to be talking about here. And then I did see that recent adaptation that came out in 2023 with Fionn Whitehead and Olivia Colman. And yeah, I believe that's it. Like I said, I've seen a fair number of adaptations, especially in the modern era of Great Expectations. So yeah, before we get going with my thoughts and feelings on this 2012 movie, if I liked it, what is Great Expectations about? Like I said, it was written by Charles Dickens, and it follows a young boy named Pip, and it's essentially his coming of age story. And he gets a mysterious benefactor at one point, and he comes into money, and he's given this opportunity to become a gentleman because he comes from very humble beginnings. His family are like blacksmiths and whatnot. So he's destined to have that life. So when this mysterious benefactor comes into his life, giving him money to become a gentleman, of course he's like, hell yes, let me jump on board this. And that's pretty much the extent of the plot. There's not much else to it, but there's so many great things going on, so many whimsical, wonderful characters. And like I said, it's Pip's coming of age journey, his story. Again, he comes from humble beginnings and he rises to become something. He wants to become something, but it's also that story of what it turns him into, because he kind of turns into a bit of an ass, you guys. He's a likable ass, but he turns into a bit of an ass, and he starts kind of he gets so easily embarrassed by his humble beginnings and the people in his life that come from those same humble beginnings, and he wants to impress all of the wrong people, in a sense, the people with wealth and status. So yeah, Pip is such a really interesting character because he's relatable. That's kind of the thing. He's very, very highly relatable. You can understand why he's feeling the way that he is, why he wants to do the things that he wants to do. Because that's how we are naturally as human beings. We want to impress people, and a lot of times we want to impress the wrong people. So yeah, this 2012 adaptation was directed by Mike Newell, who directed like Goblet of Fire, right? Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix, I believe, the Harry Potter movies. I did like this movie for the most part. I already mentioned when I was kind of talking about these other adaptations that I've seen, this is not really my favorite when it comes to Great Expectation adaptations. Definitely not my favorite at all, which I was kind of surprised about. I was expecting to really go into this and love it and expect it to be my new favorite, and it wasn't. Because like I said, I think my personal favorite adaptation probably is the 2011 version with Douglas Booth and Gillian Anderson, followed very quickly by the Ioan Gruffudd and Charlotte Rampling one from 1999. That 1999 adaptation is the very first time I'd experienced Great Expectations, because I had never read the book. I read the book because how much I love that 1999 adaptation. And then, yeah, the 2023 adaptation, good lord, I don't even want to talk about the 2023 adaptation because that thing was horrible. You guys, it was horrible. I didn't like some of the creative liberties and choices that they took with that adaptation. So yeah, this 2012 adaptation is definitely far better than the 2023 adaptation. But yeah, it is still lower, you know. As far as the look of this movie, let's kind of start there. The look of this movie, there's certain things I liked and certain things I hated. For the most part, the general overall look, I liked that this movie had a bit more of a more vibrant, colorful nature to it, because a lot of times with Great Expectation adaptations, since it is Charles Dickens and since it is like Victorian England, sometimes there is more of this kind of this doom and gloom look to the Great Expectation adaptations. That's a little bit more gritty. So I like that this adaptation kind of, I don't know, there was something about that was a little bit more playful. You know, there was something a little bit more playful, something a little more colorful, something a little more vibrant to it. Because even some of the areas where it is a little bit more dreary and gloomy, it's like there's still something vibrant about it compared to other adaptations. So I definitely liked the general overall look of this movie. Now, the costuming, I do need to bring up the costuming really quickly. Well, hair, makeup, costuming, all of that stuff. I was not a fan of any of that. You guys, no. I don't know what was going on with the male kind of makeup and hair in this movie. I don't know what was up with that. That was kind of terrible. And yeah, even the women's costuming, I do think Estella had some nice costuming in there that was nice, but other than that, some of the costuming for me was just, it was a little too flamboyant, I shall say. Not colorful. I won't say it was too colorful. It was just a little too flamboyant. There was something about some of the costuming that seemed very anachronistic to me. That was kind of throwing me out of it temporarily. So yeah, I was not really a fan of the hair, the makeup, the costuming. I think Estella was kind of the only one where that really kind of genuinely worked for me on occasion. Now, Miss Havisham's look, it's kind of impossible to screw up Miss Havisham's look, because she's supposed to have this really terrible, ratty looking, decades old wedding dress, you know, and every adaptation that I've seen, they've always excelled at Miss Havisham's dress, so that did work for me. Now, yeah, Pip's general overall look near the end of the movie, when he's like dressed all in black, the way his hair is styled, and kind of the sleekness of that black outfit that he's wearing, I did like his look. But yeah, all of the other male costuming, especially for like the wealthy people, none of that really worked for me. It was just too flamboyant and over the top for me. And like I mentioned, there's something kind of playful about this adaptation that did work for me for the most part. And yeah, the script. I do think the script incorporated a lot of really nice moments of humor and silliness, because some of that humor and silliness is in Charles Dickens' original book. You know, it's kind of subtly there, but it is there. And I do think this adaptation excelled at kind of putting those moments of silliness and humor in there, because yeah, Great Expectations, it can be really dark and serious, which I think is what went wrong with the 2023 adaptation. The 2023 adaptation went too dark and too serious. It had no sense of life or fun to it. So yeah, this 2012 adaptation at least knew how to have some fun, which I definitely got to give it some praise for. So let's talk about the runtime of this movie, because I definitely had some issues with the runtime of this movie, because it comes in at about maybe 2 hours to 3 minutes, something like that. And yeah, most books of classic literature, when they're turned into adaptations, if they're not turned into miniseries, then they're turned into like pretty much 2-hour movies, and it either works or it doesn't. And I do think this adaptation of Great Expectations, everything is condensed down to like 2 hours, and Great Expectations is huge. There's so many intricate twists and turns and plot points, and so many characters, and you gotta include just about everything, because every plot is important and pivotal, every character is important and pivotal, so you can't really cut anything, because if you cut something by mistake, it's going to mess up another thread later on down the line. So this movie is condensed down to 2 hours, and I do think that this movie, it felt very rushed. it felt very chaotic. Because I have read the book multiple times. I have seen different adaptations multiple times. So for me, I wasn't confused about certain plot points. I wasn't confused about certain character hits. But I was sitting thinking to myself, if I had never read the book, if I had never seen another adaptation of Great Expectations, this movie would be very overwhelming and very confusing for me. Like I said, there's something about this movie because it is condensed and nothing is cut out. It comes across as very rushed and very chaotic. And I honestly don't think someone who had never read the book, I don't think you could get through this movie because even myself, like I said, even though I've read the book and I've seen other adaptations, there were a few occasions that I had to kind of stop for a minute and think to myself like, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about. This is how we led from this to this. I had to kind of put those pieces in my head while I was watching the movie for the movie to make sense at times. So that's the only reason why I wasn't confused, But yeah, another non-book reader, I really think you would be very, very confused and lost about what the hell is going on and how do we get from this point to this point to this point. Who are they talking about in any given scene? Because there's some characters that this movie they'll talk about, but you don't ever really see, or if you do see them, you only see them very briefly and quickly. So then later, when that person's important and they're talking about them, you're like, wait, who are we talking about again? So again, the book, it deals with a lot. And there's so many important pivotal things, and this movie is trying to tackle all of that. The thing is, it has to tackle all of that. And yeah, like I said, it does. This movie, unfortunately, even though I liked it, it comes across as very, very chaotic and just too much. Weighted down. That's it. The movie feels very heavy and it feels really weighed down. And the movie, the classic saying, show, don't tell. This movie has a case of telling information, but not really showing the information. It's very exposition heavy, I think. There's just whole chunks and whole scenes where a character has to explain another character or explain past events or something. It's very exposition heavy, and like I said, it feels so heavily weighed down as a result. Info dumping, yeah, that's another appropriate word, I think. Info dumping. You get a lot of info dumping in this movie, which in the book and other adaptations, I feel like it never comes across as info dumping. I think everything is kind of delivered much more naturally. So yeah, running down the cast really quickly, Jeremy Irvine as our hero Pip. I really liked Jeremy Irvine as Pip. Even though Pip is an interesting character in his own way, he's also almost a boring character. Poor Pip, because he is the problem with Pip's character. He's surrounded by really highly whimsical, flamboyant characters. And so he comes across as a little bit dull and boring on occasion because he wants to be exciting and flamboyant like the rest of his peers. And he either gets there or he doesn't, But I did like Jeremy Irvine as Pip. I loved his look, especially, the latter half of the movie. Oh, goodness, he was very attractive looking, my God. And I think Jeremy Irvine, he played, the certain beats of Pip's character, because, again, Pip is a really humble character. He comes from humble beginnings and origins. He plays those nuances of Pip's quite wonderfully, I think, because, like, when his uncle-in-law, no, his brother-in-law, right? Is that what Joe is? Seriously, is that what Joe is to Pip, his brother-in-law, right? When Joe arrives in London to talk with Pip, Pip is just so embarrassed about how Joe behaves because Joe is illiterate. He eats a certain way, he behaves a certain way, but that's Joe's normal. He's not a gentleman. He's just a humble guy from the English country, a farmer or a blacksmith rather, So Pip is so embarrassed by Joe, and I think Jeremy Irvine plays all that so wonderfully because it's so cringy. It's so cringy, and you get like the secondhand embarrassment for poor Joe because Joe is doing nothing wrong, but Pip sees it as something wrong, because he's trying to put himself high and mighty. Like, oh, I'm such a gentleman now, and everyone loves me and adores me, and you're here embarrassing me from my humble beginnings. I don't want people to know where I came from. So I do think Jeremy Irvine plays all those wonderful nuances of Pip's. Yeah, the love story angle. Him and Holiday Granger, who plays Estella. I do think Pip and Estella had wonderful chemistry. in this movie. It's so quick though, you know, it's all developed so quickly, but it's like you understand why Pip loves Estella, you know, and you understand why Estella is kind of treating him the way that she is, because again, it goes all back to Miss Havisham's own motives and whatnot. But yeah, Holiday Granger as Estella, I really loved Holiday Granger. I love Holiday Granger in anything, yeah, guys. She's always wonderful. Yeah, she plays Estella how she should be played, I think. You know, there's something about Estella that can be enigmatic, and there's something about her that's thrilling and almost exotic to Pip. You know, she's something just that's so unattainable, but he wants to attain her. He thinks he can attain her by becoming a gentleman, you know. Yeah, Holiday Granger plays Estella, you know, really cold and calculating. You can't read her, you know. That's the thing about Estella, you can't read her, and I think Holiday Granger captures that essence of Estella quite wonderfully. And then we have Helena Bonham Carter as Miss Havisham. I really loved Helena Bonham Carter as Miss Havisham. She plays Miss Havisham in a almost kind of quiet way, because I was expecting Helen Bonham Carter, because Helen Bonham Carter could be just so kooky and out there and all over the place. I was kind of expecting her version of Miss Havisham to be the same, but she's not. She's a bit more subdued. Weirdly enough, Helena Bonham Carter is fairly subdued in this movie, but I did like her as Miss Havisham. Yeah, Miss Havisham is like this this woman. Decades ago, she was jilted at the altar, which, you know, you get that explained throughout the movie. I'm not going to get into it for spoiler reasons, but yeah, since she was jilted at her wedding decades ago, she's just forever remained in her wedding dress. And yeah, there's rotten food all around her from that wedding day. Like, nothing has been cleaned up or cleared away. Once again, she dresses in her wedding gown. She even sets her clock to the time that she was jilted, you know. So she's stuck in the past, and she wants Estella to be stuck in the past alongside her, and she wants Estella to treat men a certain way, because Miss Havisham was treated by the man she thought she loved a certain way. So it's such a complex relationship between Estella and Miss Havisham. Yeah, poor Pip kind of stuck there in the middle. He not aware exactly what's even going on until it's too late. Yeah, I liked Helen Bonham Carter in this. And, you know, this movie has like just a massive Harry Potter reunion going on. There's so many Harry Potter people in this movie, it's not even funny. Because then we move into Ralph Fiennes, who plays Magwitch. Magwitch he's a convict. We're introduced to him immediately at the start of the book and the movie adaptation. He's escaped. The very first person he runs into, of all people, is Pip, of course. And this changes Pip's life forever. This interaction, this is what sparks and gets Pip's journey going. And in some truly unexpected ways, as everything kind of unravels in the narrative of this book and this movie and whatnot. But yeah, I liked Ralph Fiennes as Magwitch. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. He plays Magwitch. You know, there could be these kind of cool, calm, collected moments of Magwitch, but then also these moments of like a little bit of mania and hysteria to him. And then we have Jason Fleming, who plays Joe, Pip's what was I saying, brother-in-law, right? Yeah. I really adored Jason Fleming as Joe. I don't think I have ever disliked Joe in any adaptation. Joe is always just, I think, cast perfectly, and Jason Fleming was cast perfectly in this. I think Jason Fleming might have been my favorite part of this movie, to be quite honest. I seriously, really, genuinely loved his version of Joe so much. But yeah, Joe is like a blacksmith. He wants what's best for Pip, and yeah, he's married to Pip's sister, and yeah, oh Lord, Pip's sister is something else. Poor Joe puts up with it. I don't know how that man does it, but he does. We have Robbie Coltrane, who plays Jaggers. Jaggers, how would you describe Jaggers? He's like a lawyer, right? And he helps Pip with like his financial stuff. Yeah, Jaggers. I liked Robbie Coltrane in this as well. The late Robbie Coltrane, you guys. Yeah, Jaggers is kind of one of those interesting pivotal characters in his own way. Yeah, we have, I want to give a nice little shout out to Ollie Alexander, who plays Herbert Pocket. Herbert Pocket, you guys, in the book and just any given adaptation, I just adore Herbert Pocket. He just must be protected at all costs. He's just so nice and wonderful and special and precious, you know. Pretty much Pip's only true friend once he gets to London. So yeah, Herbert Pocket just must be protected at all costs, you guys. And yeah, I really adored Ollie Alexander in that role, because he's just so cute. So yeah, this adaptation, if you can't tell, it's kind of hit or miss with me. I did like it for the most part. I definitely far preferred it over that 2023 adaptation. I think is Lord above that adaptation 2023. Good God, I don't know what happened. But either way, I'm glad that I finally got around to watching this particular version because it's been on my radar for years now and I've been wanting to desperately watch it. So I'm glad I finally did because, like I said, I've watched all these other adaptations and I like to compare and contrast, you know? So, yeah. Great Expectations 2012. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on this particular adaptation of Great Expectations. In the comments below, do you guys love this movie? Do you hate it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.